Hello, my name is Miss deMaranville, Misty, your STEAM teacher. Thank you for joining me this evening on the Pedagogy of STEAM here in Rapid City area schools. We have recently implemented STEAM teachers at each school. One of the things we are exploring is how we can unify our practices from building to building and offer equity amongst the learners. This was a perfect opportunity for me to not only review the pedagogy and all the standards associated with STEAM, but to offer the 5E framework as a unifying framework that can be applied to all the different applications of STEAM, making sure that teachers are using a research-based practice and strategies that support all these different areas and standards of the pedagogy of STEAM. Learners should understand that scientific knowledge is developed through a variety of approaches and not one scientific method. This was a quote that stood out for me from our reading, Schwartz, 2007, page 43, What is in a Word? This was very important for me to understand the nature of science and how we are developing the habits of mind. And so it's really important for us to not only understand the standards associated with this, but with all these millions of ways to integrate different lesson content, how can we offer teacher discretion for their lesson content and planning in order to keep equity across the buildings? I began my professional development thinking, I really need to make this relatable for my audience. Most schools now have their very own STEAM teacher, meaning classroom teachers don't necessarily spend a lot of their time integrating project-based learning or STEAM. So I reviewed the standards associated with. Many of the teachers admitted that they are very familiar with the NGSS engineer practice, but they did not realize that this was actually the standards associated with engineer practices, NGSS. They just thought it was something they saw on Pinterest and they liked the process, so they downloaded it without understanding that it was standard-based. So I went through each of the acronyms of STEAM and showed them where they can find information relating to all those different standards and the practices associated with each. I also spend a lot of time relating the 5E framework and the engineer process to our district report card. Here's how I made this relatable to my audience, which is mostly classroom teachers. A few years ago, Rapid City area schools implemented 21st century learning skills, and often the teachers were able to fill out a lot for the character and citizen portion, and the collaboration communication portion, but they were kind of struggling with critical thinking and creativity. So I related STEAM and the 5E pedagogy to a report card and showing them achievement level descriptors. I also offered them a rubric that scores proficiency based on performance indicators of these skills, the 6 C's: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, character, and citizenship. This way it was really relatable to those classroom teachers. Then I have a lot of teachers always asking me, how is code related to STEAM? What are our learners understanding from this activity? So I went into a whole session on relating code or computational thinking to our Common Core state standards, the mathematics and the mathematical practices. I related a lot of the conceptual understanding versus procedural fluency. A lot of times people say, well, why don't you teach them how I learned when I was a kid? And I broke it down as computational thinking is important to be able to think like a computer. In order to build and understand computers, we got to be thinking like them. So this was a brief description. I hope you enjoyed my summary of my 5E pedagogy. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much.